Welcome back. Today's guitar lesson is going to be based on the open A string. Super important chord, just like the other few that I've taught you. You can hold this chord, I feel three different ways depending on what you're doing on the guitar or what the song calls for, what kind of positioning. So I'll start out with the traditional, what I call the traditional, holding of the chord, and then I'll go through the other two that I've kind of picked up that seem to have, worked for me. So let's start out. Once again, we have our low E string, E, A, D, G, B, and your E. Low E and your high E string. So this chord is going to start on the A string, the fifth string. And what I'm going to do is just by taking my index finger here on the fourth string, second fret, I'm going to take my middle finger and place it on the third string, second fret, and my ring finger right here on the second fret of the B string, the second string down, and your high E string should ring out. It's going to take you got to kind of crunch your fingers in there, and I'll show you a little trick that I figured out if you just can't get it in this stacked fingered position here. So from my fifth string down, it's sort of easy to remember. So the second way I go about this chord is just with my index finger. I let that top fifth A string ring out, and I lay my finger across the fourth, third, and second string, and I pinch it down this way. I have my thumb right behind my index finger there. So that's another way. I've found this way to be useful if I want to, say, hammer on a particular chord above it. Or you want to have an extension. The first version I showed you, the stacked version, that'll allow the high string to ring out, the high E to ring out. This way kind of mutes it, but you can hold that one down and introduce the second fret, which would be an F sharp, which you can totally play in the key of A major. The third way is I'm going to start with my middle finger on the fourth string, second fret. My index finger is going to come right behind that on the second fret, and my ring finger will be down here on the second string. So that's a different way to do it. I don't use that position very much, but this allows, I just slipped down into a, B flat major 7 there by keeping that position and just sliding my finger down. But we don't have to get into that particular chord today. But that's how I find that useful. So those are the three different ways I go about playing the open A chord. Once again, we'll go back to the traditional, I call the traditional stacked way, is starting with your index finger on the fourth string, middle finger on the G string, the third string down on the second fret, and placing your ring finger here on the second fret of the B string, the second string. You want to have that, or you would like to have that that low A string ringing out as well. It gives the bass a little more, gives the chord a little more bass. And what's interesting about this shape is if you are just strumming the A chord without the open A string, so if you're just coming in here on your 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string and just playing the A string on those 3 strings alone, that's sort of a little introduction to triads, which are 3-note guitar chords. And I have my root, that's my A, above it is an E, that's the 5th of the chord, and right below is a C sharp, which is my 3rd. So it's a perfectly contained little chord if you just strum those 3 strings together. If you've watched my video on the E major chord, if I just take this C sharp and take it down into a C, I'll get a C minor. So one thing I want you to keep in mind, and I haven't really been talking about it too much in the last couple videos here, is fretting the guitar string. And one thing you want to keep in mind is you want to have your finger, whichever finger you're using, right up against the fret. Because it's going to allow you to have your note ring out clear. It's going to create, better dexterity, muscle memory. So that's one thing to always keep in mind is keeping your finger right up against the fret. And even with the A chord we were just talking about, that one's a little trickier because the way the fingers are stacked, my index finger, my top finger, is almost hitting the first fret on this side, but it's all contained in here. But it still works. So if you're having trouble at first, you can also just lay your indexed finger down on the 2nd fret. And my thumb is right behind my middle finger. And one thing I should mention, and I've mentioned it in some of the other videos, is in some of these open positions, keeping your index finger and your thumb lined up really help you get this chord to ring out. It creates somewhat of a vice, like a clamp. And that way I'm playing it with my thumb up here on the top. And I have the palm of my hand resting right up on the bottom here. So in this particular chord, that's too much angle. You don't want that. So I'm bringing my thumb up here on the top. And over time you can start, including your thumb to your chord. You can embellish them. But we're just keeping it really simple today. We got our 5th string, open A, index finger coming in here on the 4th string, 2nd fret, middle finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, and your ring finger, 2nd fret. So all 3 of these fingers are pushing down on the 2nd fret with the open 5th string and the open 1st high E string to give me a full open A chord.